David and Todd began what would be both of their quests to get David to Kona, Hawaii, and the toughest race in the world, Ironman.
You are swimming with your arms, and because you're paralyzed, you're pushing a hand cycle with your arm, and then you're doing the marathon with your arm. You're doing 140.6 miles in one day with your arm.
His new racing career would bring yet another rival into David's sights.
At that point, I had developed a sort of Rick Johnson kind of like rival in this guy named Carlos Melita, who was a former Navy SEAL.
1998 would see him take third against Melita, and in 99, he would take second. 2000 would be different. He was different.
When the moment of truth came, I was willing to suffer however bad it needed to be so that I could win the race.
Being dehydrated and depleted and hypoglycemic out on the road somewhere, you should avoid that. But we knew he would go through periods of that in the race, so we went to there. Gun goes off, they swim real close.
Here we go. It's another Anaheim 86, except it lasted 11 hours.
They came out of the water together, and Carlos took off on the first hill out of town.
He got away from me in the wind, and I caught him at about mile 90. Took the lead again, and I got a flat, and he passed me back, and then he had about a 5 or 6 minute gap in the marathon. And
he came up with 2 concentrated hours of superhuman effort, and he caught the guy.
And he had a hard time seeing for the last 4 miles because he was crying.
Tears were just coming out of me.
3 years of fighting against a guy like Ricky Johnson, another nemesis that he needed to beat.
This Navy SEAL, they don't give up. I'd never seen him give up. I've never seen it. I've never seen him crack. Down a Lehigh Drive to the finish, which is the holy grail of triathlon. There's thousands of people lining the finish. Thanks, you know, this is awesome. Maybe the best race I've ever had as a human being.
And so Carlos comes in, and the two of those guys just embrace, and David like whispers in his ear. And I'm like, what'd you tell him? He says, I told him, thank you for pushing me to a level I never would have reached on my own.
That day I dug deep and found out that I had another gear.
Since that long October day in 2000, and long since that harsh January day back in 1987, David Bailey finds life fulfilling, enjoying days with both family and work.
I have a job at Alpine Stars, and it allows me to have a lot of free time to spend with my son at the track and with my daughter and with my wife. Some of that time I spend with Ricky James, who was also injured. He has the time to train, and for me it'd be good to get back out on the road too and have somebody to try to keep up with.
David Bailey has proven his place in history was no one's doing but his own. The sport was just along for part of the ride.
The first rider to learn how to slow down to go faster.
Hit every single berm, every single jump, perfect, man. I mean, when I think of Dave Bailey, I think of timing.
They thought that he was the most technical and maybe the smoothest rider they'd ever seen.
He doesn't overstate things, but when he's got a message, everyone listens.
There's been a lot of people along the way, from my dad making the sacrifice he did, meeting Gary, and having the help to become a champion, and having a teammate come along like Johnny to help me through that. Then Gina, and then Jim Knob, and then my friend Todd Jacobs. And now I just realize, hey, there's always something exciting around the next corner. You just gotta stay in it for another lap.
On October 11th, 2008, Ricky James traveled to Kona with his mentor and training partner, David Bailey. Ricky would finish 5th place. He had become, like David, an Ironman.